dive into the electrifying saga of Billy Swan, a Missouri-born dreamer who struck gold with a 70s anthem that still lights up airwaves worldwide. From a small-town kid strumming guitars to a powerhouse collaborator with music's biggest names, Billy's story is a wild ride of talent, triumphs, and untold twists. What fueled the creation of a song that became a global phenomenon? Did fame define him, or does his legacy hold secrets beyond the charts? This YouTube deep dive peels back the layers of a rockabilly rebel whose life echoes the soul of country music, raw, resilient, and unforgettable. Get ready for a tale that'll spark curiosity and keep you hooked. Smash that subscribe button, pop on your headphones, and join us as we uncover why Billy Swan's music continues to resonate, proving true artistry never fades. On May 12, 1942, William Lance Swan, better known as Billy Swan, was born in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, a quiet riverside town nestled along the Mississippi River. This unassuming community was steeped in the rich musical traditions of the American South, where the twang of country music mingled with the raw, rebellious energy of early rock and roll. Cape Girardeau's jukeboxes, corner diners, and AM radio stations served as a sonic playground for young Billy, who grew up surrounded by the sounds of Hank Williams, Buddy Holly, and the emerging rhythms of a transformative era. From the age of 6, he displayed an uncanny affinity for music, teaching himself to play the drums with a relentless beat, coaxing melodies from the piano, and strumming chords on a guitar with a natural ease that seemed almost predestined. By his early teens, Billy was no longer content to simply absorb the music around him. He began filling spiral-bound notebooks with original lyrics and melodies, his imagination ignited by the possibility of creating something that could echo beyond the confines of his small-town life. By 1962, at just 20 years old, Billy was already making significant strides in the music industry, a testament to his precocious talent and relentless drive. He joined a local band called Mert Murley and the Rhythm Steppers, a group whose quirky name belied their tight, rockabilly-infused sound that captured the spirit of the early 60s. It was within this ensemble that Billy penned Lover Please, a song that married the ache of lost love with an upbeat, swaggering rhythm. The track was a perfect snapshot of youthful longing, its infectious energy resonating with anyone who'd ever felt the sting of a broken heart. The band recorded the song for Lewis Records, a small but respected label run by Bill Black, a music industry veteran who had played bass for Elvis Presley during the King's meteoric rise. Black's connection to Elvis lent an air of prestige to the project, and his faith in Billy's songwriting gave the young musician a crucial early break. But the real turning point came when soul icon Clyde McPhatter, a former frontman of the Drifters, heard Lover Please. McPhatter's soulful rendition transformed the song into a national sensation, climbing to number 7 on the Billboard pop charts in 1962. For a small-town songwriter barely out of his teens, this was a monumental achievement, a moment that validated his talent and opened doors to a world he had only dreamed of. Lover Please wasn't just a hit. It was a declaration that Billy Swan had arrived, a signal that his music could hold its own on the national stage. Buoyed by the success of Lover Please, Billy made a bold move in the mid-1960s, relocating to Memphis, Tennessee, a city that pulsed with the heartbeat of American music. Memphis in the 1960s was a cultural epicenter, home to legendary studios like Stax, where soul giants like Otis Redding recorded, and Sun, where rock and roll pioneers like Elvis and Johnny Cash had laid the foundations of a new sound. The city was a melting pot of genres, soul, blues, and rockabilly intertwined, creating a vibrant, ever-evolving musical landscape. Billy, eager to immerse himself in this creative crucible, reconnected with Bill Black, hoping to capitalize on their earlier collaboration. Their partnership, however, was tragically short-lived. In 1965, Black was diagnosed with a brain tumor and passed away at the age of 39, leaving Billy without his mentor and collaborator at a critical juncture. The loss was a profound blow, forcing Billy to navigate the competitive and often unforgiving music industry on his own. During this period, a curious rumor began to circulate, adding a layer of mystique to Billy's story: that he had worked as a security guard at Graceland, Elvis Presley's iconic Memphis estate. The notion of a young musician standing sentinel at the gates of the king's mansion, guitar case in hand, dreaming of his own shot at stardom, was undeniably romantic. But the truth was more grounded. Billy never worked at Graceland, though he maintained a friendship with one of the estate's guards, a connection that likely fueled the myth. This tale, though unfounded, became a piece of music industry folklore, underscoring the enigmatic allure that surrounded Billy even in his early years. Undaunted by Black's passing, Billy turned his focus to Nashville, Tennessee, arriving in the late 1960s with a hunger to establish himself in the heart of country music. Nashville was a city of titans, where legends like Johnny Cash, with his brooding intensity, Dolly Parton, with her radiant charisma, and a young Chris Christopherson, with his poetic grit, were redefining the genre. The competition was fierce, with songwriters and musicians vying for a chance to make their mark in a town where every bar and honky-tonk was a stage for the next big thing. Billy dove into this high-stakes environment with fearless determination, quickly establishing himself as a songwriter of remarkable skill. His compositions found their way to some of the biggest names in country music. Conway Twitty, with his velvety baritone, turned Billy's songs into chart-topping hits that resonated with audiences across the South. Waylon Jennings, the rugged outlaw of country music, infused Billy's lyrics with a defiant edge, creating anthems that captured the rebellious spirit of the era. Mel Tillis, known for his heartfelt performances, brought an emotional depth to Billy's words, earning critical and commercial success. But Billy's talents extended far beyond the songwriter's pen. He stepped into the role of producer, bringing his keen ear for melody and rhythm to the studio. In 1969, he produced Poke Salad Annie for Tony Joe White, a gritty swamp rock masterpiece that climbed to number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100, cementing Billy's reputation as a versatile force in the industry. He also joined Chris Christopherson's band as a bassist, laying down steady, soulful grooves for one of the most influential songwriters of the time. Christopherson's raw storytelling style complemented Billy's own musical instincts, and their collaboration became a defining chapter in Billy's career. In Nashville, Billy wasn't just another player in the game. He was a creative dynamo, shaping the city's sound while forging a path uniquely his own. In 1974, Billy Swan's career reached a pivotal moment when he inked a solo deal with Monument Records, a label renowned for propelling artists like Roy Orbison and Dolly Parton into the stratosphere. With a shoestring budget of just $19,000, barely a blip compared to the lavish production costs of major acts, Billy set out to record his debut album, I Can Help, a project that would etch his name into music history. This modest sum, equivalent to roughly $120,000 in 2025 dollars, was a gamble for a relatively untested solo artist, but Billy's years as a songwriter, producer, and sideman had honed his instincts. The album, recorded in a whirlwind of creativity, became a defining chapter in his life, driven by a single song that would resonate across generations. The creation of I Can Help, the album's title track, was a stroke of serendipitous genius, born in a moment of quiet inspiration that belied its eventual global impact. The story of I Can Help began in the intimacy of Billy's home, where he was tinkering with an RMI organ, a wedding gift from his close friends Chris Christopherson and Rita Coolidge. The organ, with its distinctive, slightly quirky tone, was a perfect canvas for Billy's restless creativity. One evening, as he experimented with its keys, a melody began to take shape, a simple, upbeat progression that felt like a warm embrace. In under 20 minutes, Billy had crafted the bones of I Can Help, a song that radiated unfiltered optimism. The lyrics, written with a disarming sincerity, were a universal promise. If you've got a problem, I don't care what it is. If you need a hand, I can assure you this, I can help. These words, paired with a rockabilly-infused groove, captured a timeless sense of camaraderie and hope, blending the raw energy of early rock and roll with the heartfelt simplicity of country music. The song's structure was deceptively straightforward, yet its infectious rhythm and relatable message gave it a universal appeal that transcended genre boundaries. When it came time to record, Billy teamed up with producer Chip Young in Young's unassuming Memphis studio, a space far removed from the glitzy recording hubs of Los Angeles or New York. The setup was bare bones: a single microphone to capture Billy's vocals, a small ensemble of seasoned session musicians, and a portable Farfisa organ played by Bobby Emmons, which, contrary to popular belief, provided the song's iconic sound instead of the RMI. The choice of the Farfisa, with its bright, punchy tone, added a distinctive edge to the track, grounding it in the rockabilly tradition while giving it a fresh, contemporary feel. Billy stood before the microphone, channeling the song's raw emotion, and the band laid down the track in just 2 takes, a testament to their chemistry and Billy's clear vision. There were no overdubs, no elaborate post-production flourishes, just pure, unadulterated music that captured the song's essence in its rawest form. Chip Young, serving as both producer and engineer, recognized the track's potential immediately, but the executives at Monument Records had other ideas. They initially pushed for The Ways of a Woman in Love, a cover of a Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings song, to be the album's lead single, believing it had stronger commercial prospects. Chip, however, stood his ground, passionately advocating for I Can Help as the song that could break Billy through. His instincts would prove prophetic. When I Can Help hit the airwaves in 1974, it exploded like a musical wildfire, igniting charts and capturing hearts worldwide. The song rocketed to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, a rare feat for a debut artist, and dominated the country charts in both the U.S. and Canada. Its appeal transcended borders, topping charts in Australia, Germany, and the United Kingdom, where it became a staple in pubs and discotheques. The song's blend of country pop and rockabilly was a perfect storm. Its twangy guitar riffs and upbeat organ melody felt like a nostalgic nod to the 1950s, while its polished production and universal message resonated with the diverse audiences of the 1970s. From American roadhouses to European dance floors, I Can Help was everywhere, its 3-minute runtime offering a burst of hope that felt like a friend extending a helping hand. For Billy, this was the pinnacle of a dream that began in the small-town diners of Cape Girardeau, a moment when the world saw him not as behind-the-scenes songwriter or sideman, but as a bona fide star. The album I Can Help mirrored the single's triumph, soaring to #1 on the U.S. country charts and reaching #21 on the pop charts, an extraordinary achievement for a project with such a modest budget. Adding to the victory was the fact that the album defied the skepticism of an industry expert hired by Monument's president, Fred Foster, who had dismissed it as lacking any hit potential. Billy and Chip's faith in "I Can Help" had silenced the doubters, proving that sometimes raw talent and a good song can outshine even the most dire predictions. Yet, the music industry is a fickle beast, and Billy's time in the spotlight proved fleeting. Eager to capitalize on his breakthrough, he released follow-up albums, Rock and Roll Moon in 1975 and Billy Swan in 1976, but neither could replicate the magic of "I Can Help." Rock and Roll Moon, with its blend of rockabilly and country influences, peaked at number 29 on the country charts, a respectable showing but a far cry from the chart-topping success of its predecessor. Billy Swan, released the following year, fared slightly better, reaching number 28, but it too failed to generate the same cultural impact. Billy's subsequent singles struggled to gain traction. "I'm Her Fool" limped to number 53 on the Billboard Hot 100, while "Everything's the Same, Ain't Nothing Changed" crawled to number 91. By the late 1970s, Billy's presence on the pop charts had all but vanished, his moment of mainstream glory confined to the singular triumph of "I Can Help." Critics, however, offered a more nuanced perspective. In his 1981 book Rock Albums of the 70s, influential music critic Robert Christgau delivered a review that was equal parts biting and admiring. He famously quipped that Billy really can't sing a lick, a jab at his unpolished vocal style, but went on to praise his albums as better than Three Dog Night and The Mormon Tab. Despite the fading glow of his 1974 hit, "I Can Help," Billy Swan refused to let his career slip into the shadows. Instead, he reinvented himself with a tenacity that defined his journey, embracing new opportunities and collaborations that showcased his enduring passion for music. In 1979, Billy took a bold step onto the international stage when he was invited to perform at the Havana Jam, a historic music festival held in Havana, Cuba, from March 2nd to 4th. This groundbreaking event, organized to bridge cultural divides, brought together a dazzling array of American and Cuban artists, creating a unique fusion of musical traditions. Billy shared the stage with luminaries like Billy Joel, whose piano-driven rock captivated audiences, Stephen Stills, a folk rock legend from Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Weather Report, pioneers of jazz fusion, and the Fania All-Stars, whose electrifying salsa rhythms set the crowd ablaze. Amid this eclectic lineup, Billy's rockabilly roots stood out, his twangy vocals and upbeat energy offering a distinctly American flavor to the festival's diverse soundscape. Performing at the Karl Marx Theater, Billy delivered a set that blended his signature country pop style with the raw charisma that had made "I Can Help" a global hit. The event was captured in the documentary Havana Jam 79, directed by Ernesto Juan Castellanos, which preserved Billy's performance as a testament to his ability to hold his own among music's elite. His presence in Havana wasn't just a gig, it was a statement that Billy Swan was still a force, capable of crossing borders and genres with ease. Back in the United States, Billy returned to his role as a steadfast collaborator, continuing his long-standing partnership with Chris Christopherson. As a bassist in Christopherson's band, Billy provided the rhythmic backbone for the outlaw country icon's poetic, soul-stirring performances. Touring with Christopherson meant grueling schedules, late-night gigs in smoky venues, and the camaraderie of life on the road, all of which Billy embraced with the same enthusiasm he'd brought to his early days in Memphis. His bass lines, steady and unassuming, underpinned Christofferson's raw lyricism, forging a musical bond that lasted for years. In 1986, Billy ventured into new territory by joining Black Tie, a supergroup formed in California at Bench Records. The band featured Randy Meisner, formerly of the Eagles, whose soaring vocals had defined hits like Take It to the Limit, and Jimmy Griffin, a founding member of Bread, known for soft rock classics like Make It With You. Alongside drummer David Kemper, bassist David Miner, and multi-instrumentalist David Mansfield, Billy contributed to the group's debut album, When the Night Falls. The album leaned into the polished synth-tinged sound of the 1980s, a departure from Billy's rockabilly roots, but its slick production failed to capture the chart's attention. Despite its lack of commercial success, the project showcased Billy's versatility and willingness to experiment, proving he could adapt to the evolving sounds of the decade. Billy's collaborative spirit didn't end there. In the late 1980s, he teamed up again with Randy Meisner and Charlie Rich Jr., son of country legend Charlie Rich, to form the trio Meisner, Swan, and Rich. This group recorded an album that blended their collective influences, country, rock, and a touch of soul. But like When the Night Falls, it struggled to find a wide audience in an era dominated by new wave and hair metal. In 2000, Billy returned to his roots with a solo album, Like Elvis Used to Do, a heartfelt tribute to the rockabilly and early rock and roll that had shaped his youth. The album featured covers of Elvis Presley classics, reimagined with Billy's distinctive style, alongside original tracks that echoed the raw energy of Sun Records. Though it didn't chart, the album was a labor of love, a nod to the sounds that had inspired him as a teenager in Cape Girardeau. Through these projects, Billy remained a tireless presence in the music industry, a journeyman who never let commercial setbacks dim his creative fire. Whether in the studio or on stage, he approached every opportunity with the same dedication, proving that his love for music was deeper than any chart position. Billy's personal life was as vibrant and complex as his musical career. For 30 years, he was married to Marlu Bin, a partnership that anchored him through the unpredictable highs and lows of a musician's life. Their bond was symbolized by the RMI organ, a wedding gift from Chris Christofferson and Rita Coolidge that sparked the creation of I Can Help. Marlu was more than a spouse. She was a confidant and supporter who stood by Billy through the whirlwind of fame and the quieter years that followed. Their marriage endured the chaos of touring schedules, late-night studio sessions, and the pressures of an industry that often chewed up its brightest stars. Tragedy struck on February 12, 2003, when Marlu passed away after a battle with cancer, a loss that left Billy reeling. At 60 years old, he faced the profound challenge of navigating life without his partner of 3 decades, a blow that tested his resilience. Together, Billy and Marlu had raised 2 daughters, Planet and Sierra Swan, both of whom inherited their father's musical talent. Planet and Sierra carved out their own paths as recording artists, blending alternative and indie influences with the emotional depth they'd learned from their father's work. Billy, now in his late 50s and early 60s during their rise, watched with pride as his daughters took to the stage, their voices carrying echoes of his own creative legacy. This family connection added a deeply personal layer to Billy's story, grounding his larger-than-life career in the quiet strength of love and loss. By 2005, at the age of 63, Billy was still a vital presence in Nashville, a city that had long been his creative home. Far from chasing the fleeting spotlight of his 1974 heyday, he embraced the role of a working musician, singing backup vocals, writing songs for up-and-coming artists, and contributing to studio sessions with the same passion he'd brought to his early days. His work in the studio was meticulous, his experience as a producer and songwriter making him a sought-after collaborator for those who valued authenticity over flash. Billy's life in Nashville was a testament to his unwavering commitment to music, a craft he pursued not for fame, but for the sheer joy of creation. As of 2025, Billy Swan is 83, a living legend whose career embodies the highs and lows of the music industry. His journey is a study in contrasts. I Can Help propelled him to global stardom, a singular hit that defined an era with its infectious optimism and rockabilly charm. Yet its towering success cast a long shadow over his later work, making it difficult for subsequent releases to break through. The song remains a cultural touchstone, its joyful spirit undimmed by time, popping up on classic rock radio, in movie soundtracks, and on streaming playlists curated for 70s nostalgia. But to label Billy a one-hit wonder is to overlook the breadth of his contributions. He wrote songs for country legends like Conway Twitty and Waylon Jennings, produced hits like Tony Joe White's Poke Salad Annie, and played alongside icons like Chris Christopherson. He navigated the industry's peaks and valleys with a resilience that few could match, always returning to the music that had defined his life since childhood. Billy's story is one of grit, creativity, and an unshakable love for his craft, a reminder that a life in music is measured not just in chart positions, but in the moments of connection forged through song. So, what's the final word on Billy Swan? Is he defined by a single shining hit, or does his decades-long journey prove that true artistry transcends fleeting fame? That's for you to decide, YouTube fam. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button if this story struck a chord, and subscribe for more deep dives into the legends who shaped our soundtracks. Until next time, keep the music alive and let Billy's anthem remind you, no matter the challenge, there's always someone ready to lend a hand.